feeling gray and flat, need a little bit of this and that. Well, grab your seat and settle in. A brand new story's about to begin. Oh, the curtain's up, the light is bright. Tune in now with all your might. Welcome to the show.
Welcome back to What About Theater, the show where we explore the stories, creators, and performers who shaped the world of theater. Today, we're stepping into the 1930s, a decade of resilience, reinvention, and some of the most influential musicals ever written. Even in the midst of the Great Depression, Broadway found ways to shine. Audiences needed escape, hope, and joy, and the theater delivered with unforgettable songs, dazzling choreography, and stories that lifted spirits when people needed it most. Let's explore the musicals, the creators, and the stars who defined Broadway in the 1930s. The 1930s were a paradoxical time for Broadway. Money was tight, theaters struggled, and yet the decade produced some of the most enduring works in musical theater history. Why? Because people needed entertainment more than ever. They needed laughter, romance, spectacle, and Broadway rose to the challenge. This was the decade when musical comedy matured. Dance became central to storytelling, and new creative voices emerged with bold ideas. We begin with Girl Crazy, a 1930 hit bursting with George and Ira Gershwin's signature brilliance. The show introduced songs that became American standards, including I Got Rhythm and Embraceable You. It also launched two major stars. First, Ethel Merman, whose powerhouse voice stopped the show cold, and Ginger Rodgers, who brought charm and effortless style. Girl Crazy set the tone for the decade, jazzy, youthful, and full of personality. In 1931, Broadway saw something groundbreaking, a musical that won the Pulitzer Prize for drama. Of Thee I Sing by George and Ira Gershwin with George S. Kaufman and Maury Riskin was a sharp political satire wrapped in catchy melodies. It poked fun at elections, romance, and American politics, all with a wink and a tune. This was one of the first musicals to prove that Broadway could be both entertaining and socially aware. The 1930s were a golden decade for Richard Rodgers and Lawrence Hart, whose witty lyrics and sophisticated melodies helped define the era. Their major works included On Your Toes in 1936. That was a landmark musical that introduced ballet as a storytelling tool. It featured the famous Slaughter on 10th Avenue ballet, choreographed by George Balanchine. Babes in Arm happened in 1937, a youthful, energetic show that gave us classics like My Funny Valentine and The Lady is a Tramp. In 1938, there was The Boys from Syracuse, a clever musical adaptation of Shakespeare's The Comedy of Errors, filled with charm and rhythmic brilliance. Rodgers and Hart brought sophistication, humor, and emotional depth to the decade. Now, no discussion of the 1930s is complete without Cole Porter, whose elegant melodies and razor-sharp lyrics defined Broadway glamour. His Anything Goes in 1934 was a smash hit starring Ethel Merman, featuring songs like I Get a Kick Out of You, the title song, of course, and You're the Top. It was witty, stylish, and full of joyful escapism, exactly what Depression-era audiences craved. In 1936, he gave us Red Hot and Blue, another Porter gem starring Merman and Bob Hope, and filled with clever wordplay and irresistible tunes. Porter's musicals were sophisticated, sparkling, and unmistakably his. The decade produced some of Broadway's most iconic performers. We spoke of Ethel Merman, whose voice could fill any theater without a microphone, and Ginger Rodgers, who brought charm and comedic timing. Ray Bolger, a master of rubber-limbed physical comedy, who you may know from a movie called The Wizard of Oz. Tamara Drayson, the original singer of Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. Bob Hope, who became a Broadway favorite before conquering Hollywood. These performers helped define the sound and style of the decade. Now, I'm going to veer off the topic just a little bit here. I was lucky enough to meet Bob Hope when I was the ambassador of song at Rosie O'Grady's in Orlando, Florida in the late 1980s and early 90s. He would come to Rosie's when he was in town to visit with his friend Ruth Cruz, who was the red hot mama there. During my section of the show, I had sung a song called Chicago Style that he had sung with Bing Crosby in their movie Road to Bali. After the show, he sent a message asking me to come and see him. He was seated near the light and sound booth in the mezzanine. I gladly went up and said hello to him and his daughter. After we talked for a little, he told me that he liked my version of Chicago Style. He then pointed to his daughter and said, "She said I sang it in a movie, but I didn't remember it." Now that was not so surprising. He had such a long and impressive career on stage, in movies, his amazing USO tours, on radio and on TV, that forgetting about one of the hundreds of songs he had performed isn't that unusual. Well, let's go back to the 1930s musicals and their legacy. The musicals of the 1930s shaped the future of Broadway in profound ways. Dance became central to storytelling. Satire and sophistication found a home in musical theater. Jazz and swing influenced the sound of the stage. Star-driven productions became the norm. Creative teams like Rodgers and Hart and Cole Porter set new artistic standards. The decade proved that even in hard times, theater could thrive and even transform. Yes, the 1930s gave us musicals filled with heart, humor, and unforgettable melodies. They lifted spirits during one of the toughest periods in American history and left a legacy that shaped the golden age of Broadway. Thank you for joining me for this journey through the musicals of the 1930s. This is What About Theater? Celebrating the stories that bring the stage to life.
What a journey, what